And in business news, the Center for Promotion of Private Enterprise says depreciating exchange rates and surging transportation costs, among others, are major drivers of the country's increasing inflation rate. Chief Executive Officer of the enterprise, Dr. Muda Yusuf, made this known following the reports that the National Bureau of Statistics on Consumer Price Index, which measures the rate of change in prices of goods and services, rising from 25.8% in August to 26.72% in September 2023. Dr. Yusuf said persistent inflationary pressures in the Nigerian economy continue to be a major cause for concern, especially because of the effects on poverty. He added that key inflation drivers are not receding but have become more intense. The CPPE boss noted that the issues are largely on the supply side, which puts more pressure on production costs, weakens profitability, erodes shareholders' value, and dampens investors' confidence. The federal government says power consumers in the country paid a total of 267.8 billion naira as electricity bills in the second quarter of this year. The government disclosed this in the second quarter of 2023 report by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, while explaining the collection efficiency of power distribution companies during the review period. According to the report, the total revenue collected by all discos in Q2 of 2023 was 267.86 billion naira out of 354.61 billion naira billed to customers. This translates to collection efficiency of 75.54%, which represents an increase of 6.79 basis points when compared to 68.75% in Q1 of 2023. On market remittance, NERC report shows that in Q2 of 2023, the cumulative upstream invoice payable by discos was 194.6 billion naira, consisting of 154.04 billion naira for generation costs, and from Nigerian bulk electricity trading, and 40.65 billion naira for transmission and administrative services by the market operator. Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Ms. Amina Mohammed, wants governments to intensify efforts to better economic inclusion of women. She made this known at a session on engaging women as leaders, innovation financing, and collective action at the IMF World Bank annual meetings in Morocco. The UN Deputy Secretary General, however, acknowledged that there is hope for the women as their needs are now receiving more attention from the authorities, but there is so much room for improvement. Lara Folayan reports.
Hello and welcome to the 2023 annual meetings of the World Bank Group and IMF.
A session on engaging women as leaders, innovation, financing, and collective action. The panelists here emphasized the economic importance of gender equality, though making it happen is quite challenging. They seek collective efforts towards boosting women's economic inclusion around the world.
Our issues around equal pay, all of these, we are off track. But we did go in there knowing that we had the solutions and that clearly the means of implementation had been a barrier, and women are often the first to fall off that radar when we talk about investing in agriculture, investing in the energy transition. It's almost as though you are invisible. And so here we can be very specific about those areas.
According to the World Economic Forum Global Gender Gap Report, at the current rate of today, it will take us 131 years to close gender gaps. And just a reminder, before COVID, we estimated it was 100. What happened? Women are harder hit by crisis than men are.
The benefits that accrue to economies from women empowerment and gender equality are also emphasized here. This is alongside seeking the action and commitment of local and international stakeholders to bring about equality, despite the various cogs in the wheel of actualizing this. The huge transformative potential women empowerment holds is as well highlighted as making public financing and social services get to more women and girls, particularly the poorest and the most vulnerable in communities.
Governments are doing much more than they did 8 years ago in recognizing that gender is an issue and that they've got the strategies, but often it is the means of implementation.
Convergence of views on how to address many of these issues is very important. It's becoming more mainstream. And it's not taken, as I mentioned, just as a nice number that we want to close. It has economic implications, which makes the global goals achievable.
The Women Entrepreneurs Finance Code, which is a commitment by financial providers, regulators, development banks, and other financial ecosystem players towards increasing funding provided to women-led enterprises, was launched several hours after the talks here. The World Bank also plans to release a new gender strategy covering 2024 to 2030 early next year. Lara Folayo, TVC News.
Asian stocks made some cautious gains today, with investors choosing to focus on corporate earnings and prospects and the resilience of the U.S. economy ahead of tensions in the Middle East. MSCI's broadest index of Asian Pacific shares outside of Japan advanced 0.58%. Tokyo's Nikkei rose 0.89%. The S&P 500 climbed 1% overnight, while oil prices and U.S. dollar had fallen. Property sector was flat, while the Hang Seng rose 0.78%. And real estate index fell 0.77%. In the currency market, Australian dollar ticked up a little, with extended earlier losses to be down 0.54%. The euro traded at $0.05, and the yen hovered short of the 150 per dollar mark at 149.6. China's property sector edged towards deeper trouble, marking the end of a 30-day grace period on the late payment from developer Country Garden. The former chairman of the Bank of China, Mr. Liu Lang, has been arrested on corruption charges. Mr. Lang, who led the state-owned bank from 2019 until March of this year, was arrested by the Supreme People's Procuratorate on suspicion of bribery and providing illegal loans. According to China's state media, Mr. Lang's case has been transferred to the procurator for review and prosecution. His arrest comes a week after he was expelled from the ruling Chinese Communist Party following accusations of wrongdoing by the country's anti-corruption watchdog. Central Commission for Discipline Inspection accused Liu of a range of illicit activities, including illegal granting loans, bringing banned publications into the country, and using his position to accept bribes and other perks. Car maker Toyota says it has partially suspended production in Japan because of an explosion at its supplier's plant. Toyota said 10 production lines at 6 factories were halted after an explosion the previous day at one of the factories of suppliers Chun Spring in Aichi Prefecture. The automaker said it would check whether the affected production lines could be restarted. Toyota has 14 assembly plants across Japan producing cars for the domestic and overseas markets. Recently, the car market had to halt domestic production for a day because of a server problem. LinkedIn says it will lay off 668 employees across its engineering, talent, finance teams in the second round of job cuts this year for the social media network for professionals and slowing revenue growth. The cuts will affect more than 3% of the 20,000-strong staff, adding to the tens of thousands of job losses this year in the technology sector in the face of an uncertain economic outlook. The social networking site said they are adapting organizational structures and streamlining decisions-making and will continue to invest in strategic priorities for the future to ensure it continues to deliver value for members and customers. The tech giant had laid off 141,516 employees in the first half of the year, compared to about 6,000 a year ago, according to employment firm Challenger, Gray and Christmas. Crude oil prices steadied today after more than $1 slide yesterday amid hopes the U.S. would ease sanctions on producer Venezuela, and as Washington steps up and efforts to prevent an escalation of war between Israel and Hamas. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude rose to sell at $86.87 with an upsurge of 0.24%. Brent experienced an world price review of 0.39% to sell at $90 per barrel. Bonnie Light recorded an upward review, 0.59%, sell at $92.78. And for the OPEC basket, crude dealers offer $91.62 with an uptick of 2.45%.